All right, Catrina, I'm so pumped that you are here in your beautiful space. You even have candles lit behind you. You're just
You.
setting the mood. I have a plant, so you saw me put that there to add some color.
Love it.
Anyway, you are a dream to follow on Instagram. I watch your reels, I see your photos, your little videos, the slow-mo videos of your dream dresses, and I love what you do. And your story is so inspirational and motivating to seamstresses, whether they're working in a shop or especially if they're working at home, because your journey is just awesome. So I want to let you start talking about yourself. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Again, I just always love chatting with you. So thank you for having me. And I'm excited to chat about Bespoke Bridal and how it all started. And before we came on air, I was telling Nadine about a little story about how I started. I wanted to share it. So it kind of all started out on my dining room table. I lived in a 900 square foot tiny little duplex in not a good side of town. Okay. Little sketch. And I remember the first dress that I was working on, my younger sister sent this dress to me from a friend. I had never worked on bridal before, and she had such confidence in me. God bless her. Mm-hmm. Tells her friend, "Oh, my sister sews. She can totally work on your gown for you. It will be fine." Love her to pieces. And it was letting this dress out about a size and a half. And still to this day, it's one of the hardest alterations that you do on a pre-made gown. And I remember as I'm sewing, and I'm going nice and slow because I want to make sure I don't mess anything up. It's lace. I don't want to put a hole in it or anything. And I'm going along, and then my machine starts going really fast. I'm like, oh, shoot, what's happening? My son is under my table pressing my presser foot on my dining room table. I'm like, ah! So really, I was just kind of thrown into this in the middle of motherhood, and
oh my goodness,
just kind of learned by mistakes. And sometimes you just got to ride this crazy wave. Kind of
oh my goodness. I love everything about that story, because I think that speaks to where so many people are right now who are thinking, do I even know how to sew? I mean, I'm just sewing at home. I think so many people have that mindset of maybe I can't really do this because I'm just sewing at a dining room table, and so-and-so has the shop or whatever, a brick and mortar. And it's or so-and-so went to design school, and your story is so organic. And even from just, you were telling me earlier of how you learn, it's in a very non-traditional way. And you have to have that hands-on experience and make mistakes and work with the fabric. And that about yourself, and you embrace that early on. And I think that's what made you who you are. That's so cool. So for all the mamas sewing at home, this episode is for you.
And also, like we were chatting about before, I learned very different. I'm severely dyslexic. So having a learning disability as well, people think that will hold you back. And in reality, I think it's become one of my greatest strengths, because I don't learn from reading a book. I very much learn by hands-on and learning from my mistakes, and learning to put my child in a playpen while I'm sewing, so I don't sew my finger to a dress. But it just all started out by my sister believing in me and throwing me under the bus, which is one of the most beautiful things she could have done, even though it was terrifying.
Yeah. She believed in you before you did.
She really did.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of my whole family, my hubby as well. They've just really encouraged me, and to have these awesome support people around me has made me the success that I am. Because when you're starting out, like you said, I'm just a mom that sews at home. When you have this support behind you, you're like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And then when those voices can be louder than the ones inside. I mean, I still have those voices where I'm like, why do I even know what I'm doing? No. Put them aside. And looking at your beautiful space. Okay. So where were you before this? I know you've recently moved, and this place that you're in is stunning. So where were you before here? Were you home?
So I started in a tiny 900 square foot duplex in the dining room. And then we moved, and then I had my own little sewing room, which was like maybe like it's probably not even 100 square feet. It was tiny. It was tiny, tiny, tiny.
Closet. You're sewing.
Yes. And then we moved to my childhood home, which I'm purchasing from my parents, which is a whole nother really cool story.
Word.
And then COVID hit, and my husband's a cancer survivor. So we didn't feel comfortable with anybody coming into our home, especially before vaccines were out. With COVID being so new, nobody really knew what to expect.
Oh, 100%.
So I asked a local bridal shop that I had been doing work for if I could just rent a little space from them. So it went from, I had my sewing space at home, but I worked at the bridal shop and doing all of my alteration appointments and fitting appointments there.
Okay.
However, when I started really getting deep into my customs, I found out if their designers learned that I was meeting custom girls in their shop, they could have lost that designer. And that was not my heart at all. I didn't want to do that to them. I love them to pieces and I wish them the best. So it was just time for me to get a space. And I've wanted this space for 10 years. And I was downstairs. I love that
when you drive by the same space and you're like, "Ooh, I have a vision." That's like where I am now. Yes.
I just love that space. Well, I was downstairs getting my hair done. My salon is just downstairs below me, which is awesome. And the owner, Krista, she tells me, "Oh yeah, that space upstairs just opened up." I'm I'm sure she could have messed my hair up if I moved anymore. I'm obviously a very expressive person. I'm like, "I need your landlord's number right away." And I moved in May. Wow. The busiest season I have ever had. It was just chaos. So now I finally have my space kind of set up, kind of what I want it to be. Yeah. But it's, this has been a 13-year journey. So to all of those mamas out there that are sewing, don't rush it. It will happen. It all happens in its own time.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Thank your dream space. That is so cool. I didn't realize it was that recent, just this past May. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just in the busiest season ever that we've ever had. So
for all of us.
So, kind of shifting a little bit to chat towards seamstresses who are working on alterations. They're thinking about, offering some custom designs. Are there any maybe drawbacks to consider, or I don't know, pros and cons of offering, bespoke?
Yeah.
We had this conversation of how to say it before we started recording.
So some people say
tomato.
Yes, some people say it bespoke. I say it bespoke, but like you said, tomato.
But I want to say it like you say it, so I'm going to say bespoke. So tell us the pros and cons of that from a seamstress, an alteration specialist perspective.
So starting as a seamstress, you have all of your materials minus the thread, your machine, your sewing needles, kind of already pre-packaged in that wedding dress when it comes to you for alterations. That's not the case when you go into custom and bespoke gowns. So the things that I didn't think of, I was thinking, okay, well, you just buy the fabric and you sew the darn thing together. Well, that's not exactly how it works. You still need to, of course, buy all of your sewing supplies, and then your boning and your interfaces and the zippers and the hook and eyes. There's so much that I did not think about. So the cost is significantly higher first going into it. So my greatest piece of advice would be to just start small, start taking little nibbles at it. If you want to start doing custom pieces, start by offering custom sleeves that are pre-made that they can slide them on and see them with their gown, or a corset back, or an overlay skirt. Starting out with small pieces like that will kind of help you get your feet wet without totally breaking the bank and not knowing if that gown is going to sell or not.
Right. And that I'm thinking of like the overwhelm of like the vast list that comes with like a entire dress, you know what I mean? As opposed to like, oh, let's make some sleeves.
Right.
That's doable.
Right. So that's a great first step. And you're kind of sharpening your skills when you start small, because when you go into like a big, full, huge gown, it's intimidating the first time you do it. So to start small, it's kind of nice because then it's just little bite-sized pieces.
Yes. Yeah. Now, as a seamstress, getting dresses that are, purchased from a store and it's already made, my time frame with a bride is usually like 10 to 12 weeks. We'll have one fitting and then she'll come back 2.5 weeks later and then the next. So how does your time frame compare to that? And I'm talking like basic alterations,
Basic alterations. Yeah. So with basic alterations, mine is about the same. For your basic three, I call them the basic three: the hem, tailor, and bustle. Those are the three most common alterations that I see. For those, if it's truly just a tailoring, not a resize, I prefer 2 months.
Okay.
That's what I am hoping for.
And what about for your custom gowns?
Custom gowns, a minimum of 6 months. I prefer a year or more.
So if you does that dip into the clients that you accept for just alterations? You know what I mean? Like, how do you balance that out? You're thinking, okay, I have a custom gown that I'm making, I have 6 months for. So how does that impact the amount of brides that you'll accept?
Yes. So I feel comfortable with taking 10 to 12 customs a year, rotating.
Okay.
And if I completely book out, I may not take any alterations. So I very much am in a transition year. I'm transitioning not just from doing seamstress alteration work to custom, but I'm transitioning into trying to build up and teach a new generation of seamstress and hoteliers, because a lot of the people in my area are retiring, these talented, amazing women. And I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 13 years. I have the most experience in my area by like 6 or 7 years at this point.
Wow.
So that's telling you how many people have retired.
Yeah. Oh, we're seeing the same thing. So yeah, I know in my area, we have at least 3 women who retired just this past year. And I'm thinking, and even when they were around, it was like, there weren't many of us, so there's definitely that generation gap and this new generation, up and coming. So I love how you're stepping into that education piece.
Yeah. Well,
it's exciting.
There's been this mentality of women stepping on other women to elevate themselves. And I just think that is the ugliest thing you can possibly do. It's just, I don't want to be that. I would much rather let's all go together, because then it won't be so lonely at the top. I want to
ooh, I love that. Yes.
Let's do it together.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So how are you, are you like working with apprentices, or what's your plan for that?
Yeah. So I have 2 gals that I talk with on a regular basis.
Oh,
one of them is a very, very dear friend. She has been a very dear friend for a long, long time, and she's working out of her home. And I refer her just about all of my overflow at this point, and she's outstanding. But if she gets stuck, she'll just FaceTime me and let me know, okay, this is what's happening. I'm ready to throw the dress out the window. Yeah. Please help me before I do that.
That is so cool. Bit of insight.
Yeah,
yes.
It's really neat.
How did you, yeah. We'll talk later about how you connected, because I would love to find something like that where I can just be like, okay, somebody that I can pass on. And yeah, because I think we're all kind of getting to that level this year too. So
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of like a subject, but I know you're very open about your prices. And I think this would be so helpful for seamstresses who are like, I don't even know what the ballpark should be. Like, how did you establish your prices? And we see this in all bridal clients. Well, I shouldn't say all, but I should say no matter the project, we see this with brides, maybe not being sure of what they should expect to pay or what the cost of alterations or sewing is. So how do you approach that from the bespoke perspective?
Yes. So when I started out, I mostly did alterations and just a couple customs peppered in through the years. And
Mm-hmm.
then I put a pause on customs till I could really harness my skills. Um, so for me, what I did, I thought about, okay, what do I want to be making hourly? And am I fast enough to make that? So I wanted to make
Mm.
sure that I was balancing that. So for my advice for somebody who is just getting started in this, think about like, okay, say you want to make $20 an hour, just a nice even number. Um, and think about how much time each project's going to take you. So
Mm-hmm.
still to this day, there are prices that I give my brides that are brackets.
Yep.
So I do brackets specifically on lace hems often. Because anybody who has done a lace hem before knows that you don't just cut a lace hem. You have to remove the trim applique. And sometimes you have to remove it one stitch at a time. Then you
Yes.
relay it, you resew it. There's little nips and tucks that need to be made.
Yep.
So sometimes I know, okay, that lace hem is going to take me 2 hours, and say that I was charging, hoping for $20 an hour. I'm going to charge between 40 and okay, it might take me up to 5 hours to 100. So I'm going to let my bride know, okay, this one is a bracket price. Your cost for this lace hem is going to be between 40 and 100. I never ever go over what I quote, but that way seamstresses can kind of get an idea. Okay, 40 would have been underquote or underquoting for this particular hem, but I landed right about $60. Okay, so that's fair. My bride is already not paying top dollar, so that's great. I'm giving her a little discount, and I am learning how quick I can be on this particular hem. So that's a really great way for beginner seamstresses to start. But that, I mean, sometimes I just know that like my micro hems, they're $25 a layer because I know it's going to take me an hour or less.
Right. And is that how you piece together a quote for a custom gown? Do you go by like each piece that you'll be working on? Is that how you come with your quote for custom gowns?
Kind of. So my custom gowns start at $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
With that comes a $500 fabric stipend, I guess you could call it. So if my brides decide that they want fabric that is more expensive, then the price is going to go from $2,500 up, depending on the fabric that they choose. And I know the basic, okay, the sketch is going to take me this long. The muslin pattern, which I have right over my shoulder here, this is actually a pattern on my form for a custom gown.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
For just for just cotton.
I know that pattern is going to take a certain amount of time. But if they want to add something more extravagant, like a structured piece that comes off of the bodice, then that is going to be an added piece, something that I know that's outside the norm of like a traditional gown. Yeah.
Because I was speaking with somebody maybe a few months ago, and she wanted to get into custom gowns and, what is even the first step? And I was thinking, well, I think you would just need to know how long things take you. Like, what are your basic skills that you have to use with every single gown, and then start timing yourself. Like sometimes setting the timer is a really rude wake up call. Like I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't take me long. And then I set the timer. I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes me forever. Like I need to raise this price. Yes. We have to face reality sometimes. Yes. Like, okay. So that's a great like first step is knowing how long the things take and then going from there. And maybe like, because I don't know how long it takes to sketch out a gown or to, to make your mock-up gown, but
and everybody's different. Everybody's going to do different steps and take their time is going to be different than others. Yeah. So you have to figure out what is best for you. And that's also how I figure out how many gowns I can take per year or per month.
Okay. That's super helpful.
So for seamstresses that are just starting out, they know, okay, well, one gown takes me about a total of 10 hours. And I only want to be working 40 hours a month because I have kids and I have other obligations. Okay. Well, then your max gowns that you can take per month is 4.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it
Totally.
helps scheduling.
Yeah. Because in our membership this month, we're talking about pre-booking and scheduling. And that is the key piece, is knowing, and you can even learn this before you even meet with the bride, is how long roughly is this gown going to take based on what she's telling you she needs. And that's how you build your schedule. But being honest with yourself with that time is a huge piece. Otherwise, that's how, you end up sewing at midnight, which
or back.
I had a lot of late nights of sewing like that, where it's like, okay, I said yes too many times. So, okay, now we know like our time structure, how much maybe we should charge. How do you advertise for your brides, or like, where do you find your clients?
So there are a couple different sources. So I have a couple amazing local boutiques that refer to me. And I love them to pieces. However, since I'm doing mostly custom at this point, they have been able to refer to my two gals that I was talking about. And I called them and I let them know, hey, these two gals are awesome. They're capable. They're ready to take on the work. So that was nice to like kind of spread like the love. So that was really great. So definitely stop into your local boutiques. Some of the larger stores have in-house seamstresses. And if that's something that you are wanting to pursue, go in and talk to them. And don't be afraid to bring in your pieces that you have worked on before, that you have, even if it's not a gown. Yeah. To be able to bring something in and you are asking, hey, do you have an opening? Bringing a piece in. If somebody did that with me and was so confident to bring in their work, and it's like, oh, hey.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
Okay with me looking at your stitches. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that is a really great way to get started. And then Instagram and TikTok, because you can be very, very much who you are and very authentic and real, and you will attract your people.
100%. Yes.
I think that's a really great way. And you don't have to be perfect. Your space doesn't have to be perfect all the time, but to be able to show what you are working on and the quality of your work, I think is really beneficial for future clients.
Yeah. So for your bespoke gowns, do you find that most of your clients come from Instagram? Perfect.
Oh, that's great. I would say 98%.
Wow.
Like high.
That's awesome. Because if you're offering alterations, obviously that relationship with the bridal shop is essential. But if you're like, I'm designing my own, or I'm designing custom gowns, we can't really walk into shops with the same spiel. Like, this is what I offer. Gowns, just like you. So I love that, just being authentic and showing your work consistently on Instagram. And it's kind of like this love-hate relationship that we have with social media, because it's like, oh, it's so time consuming and I don't want to be on my phone. But it's like, also, it's amazing how many people you can connect with for free. Like, seriously.
In my brain, I allot 10 hours a week for marketing. Wow. So I know that I am going to be spending about 10 hours on Instagram, not because it's, oh, this is like fun and relaxing. And it can be fun and relaxing. It can also be stressful. Right. But I know those 10 hours are valuable to me.
100%. Yes.
So setting that time aside, budgeting whatever amount of time you have, awesome. Do it. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's free marketing. You just have to put hours into it. You just have to put your time.
Yeah. And you have to kind of curate, and I've talked about this before in my membership too, like, who is your ideal client? Knowing who that is, you curate your feed to meet them there. And also coming to the realization that your client is probably younger than you. So meet them where they're at, if they're on Instagram, if they're on TikTok, then share what you're doing with them, and they're 10 years younger than you. And that's okay. Like, just be where they are.
Oh yeah. I just started my TikTok. I did not want to do
I'm going to be finding you.
I didn't want to do both, but I'm doing it.
I'm still trying to find the shortcut to, like, you make the TikTok and then you share it to Instagram as a reel. And I still haven't figured that out without like the sound. I don't know. Yeah. I need an intern. That's what I need. So if you're watching and you're a young person, let me know.
Yes, if I figure it out, I'll share with you. When you figure it out, share.
Okay.
I know there's a way to do it, but like I said, I started this weekend.
Oh, that is so funny. Okay, well, I'll let whoever knows first.
Yeah, in the comments, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Out, okay.
Help us save time because we're old. Right. Okay, speaking of old, where do you see your business in 5 years?
Yes. So
this is kind of a loaded question. You can even go 1 year if that's easier for you.
I love it. Oh, I'm always like thinking it. I would love to have my own line so people can come in and buy it straight off the rack. And it is something that I'm currently working on. And I want to be teaching what I'm doing. It's something that's very important to me. I have such a passion for other women, and to let them know it's okay if you have a learning disability. It's okay if you're a mom. It's okay if you have a crazy schedule. I want to be able to lift these women up that, started where I did. You don't have to have a formal education in fashion, even though that's awesome as well. But I just love being able to do that. So I would love to have some either online courses or in-person courses to kind of help these ladies kind of take some steps towards that.
Yeah, we need to talk more. I'm really excited. Oh,
okay.
Yes,
okay.
I'm very excited for you. This is so cool. And yes, that's so needed. And I think that's just the next way of learning is like these digital courses that we can offer are so helpful, so I'm making one for kind of the business marketing side of sewing because some people have the skills, but it's like, how do I organize my life? But I love the fact that you are sharing. Okay. Yeah, well, this will be a FaceTime conversation. Yeah, I'm so excited for you. Yes. Oh, this is really, really, really cool. Okay. And then what is a final piece of advice for listening, whether they're seamstresses established in a business thinking about, bespoke offerings, or they have a sewing skill and they're like, can I offer bridal sewing? All listeners, what's a final tip? You've already given so many, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down, but
my final tip is to get your hands on as many gowns as you possibly can. I have had really expensive, extravagant designers, and then I've had kind of just your David's Bridal, which it's fine too, but to see the inner workings of these gowns are amazing. And if you are not at the point where you are currently working in this industry, go to Goodwill. Find some of these old dresses, start ripping them apart. Rip them apart, put them back together, try and remake them for your body. Because when you're doing that, you're not only learning how to tailor garments, but you're learning how others have constructed them. And I'm all about that. I love being able to see what other artists are doing. And that's a really great way to do it. So
I love that
as many gowns as you can.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Katrina, thank you so much. I'm already planning. Okay, next time we talk, because I want to have you back on here. I have all these now. It's like I have all these nuggets and things that I want to like reach out again about. So, and you will be heading up a training in our membership. We need to schedule a month for that. But and I'm like, again, the wheels are spinning, turning. I don't know. I'm really excited. So thank you. All the things. Thank you so much, Katrina. And then tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Catrina Munoz _bridal on Instagram. It's spelled CatrinaMunoz _bridal. And eventually I'll be sharing my TikTok. Like I said, I started it
what's
yesterday.
The TikTok handle? Okay, we'll be waiting.
I don't even remember.
You can give us an update in the comments when you have like 4 videos. Yeah, perfect.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Katrina.
Thank you, Nadine.